Good morning, good morning, good morning. Hello, and good morning, world. And welcome back to yet another fun-filled episode here with us on the Early Morning Sports Talk podcast. We will have a blast this morning with our guests as we embark upon what will be another fantastic episode for our 5th season of the Early Morning Sports Talk podcast. And so, world, yes, we are back like a shark attack, back like we left some, back like we ain't got no clothes on our back. And for the world is a better place when the Early Morning Sports Talk podcast is taking place. And so thank you for tuning in with us this morning as we conversate about the latest sports topics that have taken place from this past week and will be upcoming this week. It is always a blast to have you all tune in and participate with us every weekend. As a reminder that every week we always like to begin our podcast by reminding our audience that the Early Morning Sports Talk podcast can be found on Facebook via the Early Morning Sports Talk podcast community page, also on the Early Morning Sports Talk podcast Facebook page, on Instagram at the Early Morning Sports Talk POD, again on IG at the Early Morning Sports Talk POD, YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, the Early Morning Sports Talk podcast, as well as our own Facebook pages via Brandon Price, Jamar Goodman, Ian Jones, as well as our guests for this weekend. Today is January 13th of 2024, and we have seen yet another fascinating, busy, extremely busy week in the sports world. We saw NFL Black take place in our NFL Black Week. As Monday, we did not have much action, but as the week came along, it was sure pickup as we would end up seeing a slew of head coaches, all of whom, and which I will mention, has been associated with Super Bowl championships, beginning with Mike Vrabel, former head coach of the Tennessee Titans, former Super Bowl champion with the New England Patriots, had a lot of success in Tennessee, a very good record. But as of late, the last couple of years, things have went downhill because he wanted to continue to believe Rick and Ryan Tannehill, alongside longtime head coach and legendary Chicago Bears linebacker, and now former Washington Commander head coach Ron Rivera be let go, alongside legendary Seattle Seahawks and former Super Bowl winner, as well as legendary USC Trojan head coach Pete Carroll and the Seahawk organization to sign to mutually part ways as his head coach, but he did state he will remain within the organization, as well as the man who is heavily viewed as the greatest NFL head coach of all time, as well as one of the greatest head coaches of all time, Mr. Bill Belichick, and now his former New England Patriot organization to sign to part ways. And Bill, it is rumored to possibly continue coaching. That's the rumor. As now within this organization, they have decided to hire Jared Mayo, former NFL linebacker, former NFL Super Bowl winner, two-time Pro Bowler, one-team All-Pro, to be the successor and succeeding Bill Belichick as the head coach of this New England Patriot football team. We would additionally see Arthur Smith be fired of the Atlanta Falcons, as well as the offensive coordinator for our Chicago Bears, Luke Getsy. We would find out this past Wednesday also that arguably, or to many, the greatest head coach in the history of college football, the great and legendary Nick Saban, announced his retirement after winning 7 national championships as head coach of the LSU Tigers and more formally and notably of the Alabama Crimson Tide, where he won 6 national championships. And lastly, our Chicago Bulls and the Chicago Bulls organization honoring and they would honor and induct our organization, our former players, all of our greats, as well as the 1995-1996 NBA championship team into the Ring of Honor, where many had mixed emotions from fans booing Thelma Krause because they would go ahead and introduce Jerry Krause, who put together the team that won 6 NBA championships, alongside seeing Michael Jordan, Scottie Pippen, and Dennis Rodman as the leaders of this great dynasty all failing to show up. And so, with that being said, our brothers will be with us this morning. However, introducing our guest for this morning on the Early Morning Sports Talk podcast, joining us for the first time on the Early Morning Sports Talk podcast, our brother, Mr. Rick Hamilton. Reverend Richard E. Rick Hamilton serves as the interim regional minister for 2 regions of the Christian Church Disciples of Christ. He currently serves both within the Illinois-Wisconsin region and the Michigan region of the Christian Church, which means, yes, people, he drives a lot. Rick lives in Downers Grove, Illinois, with his wife of 30 years, Sarah. Hey, Sarah. Together they have 2 adult sons and a dog named Annie. Rick is a graduate of TCU, Texas Christian University in Fort Worth, Texas, where he earned a Bachelor of Business Administration and a Master of Divinity. Yes, TCU is great for seminary. He has served in churches and in regional ministry in Texas, Arkansas, Wisconsin, Illinois, and Canada. Rick's first love, however, is college football, followed by MLB and NFL. His teams are the Horned Frogs, the World Series champion Texas Rangers, and reluctantly the Dallas Cowboys, though he cannot stand Jerry Jones and is aching for him to retire. Rick carefully honors the domicile rule of fandom, however, meaning he also cheers for the Cubs, Bears, Bulls, and Blackhawks. And so we thank you, Rick, for taking the time out of your busy schedule and joining us this morning for what will be a very special Early Morning Sports Talk podcast show. How are you this morning, sir?
I am great. How about you?
Pretty good, sir. Yes, I'm very, very well. Yes. And so, additionally, introducing my brother from another mother and one of my partners on the Early Morning Sports Talk podcast, Mr. Jamar Goodman, as well as Ian Jones. They will be with us shortly. And so, with that being said, for today's show, we will have a ball, but we will get first into what transpired, let's say, you know what? I'm actually going to wait on the Ring of Honor. I'm going to wait on that. Let's
Yeah.
actually talk about the national championship game. And so, since your first love, by the way, Rick, is, and I want the people to actually see, this is our special guest, Rick Hamilton. And I'll do my tags. And so you'll see more folks jump on Rick as we do our tags. Just haven't done them yet. And so special guest Rick Hamilton. But let us actually begin with the 2023-24 National Championship game. And so with that being said, Rick, I want to get your thoughts from this game, Michigan versus Washington. What are your thoughts from this game? What was the story of this game for you?
This game. By the way, thank you again. It's an honor to be here. This game I thought was going to be. Well, we have a joke in my circles about Big Ten speed kills, which is basically a Big Ten speed bump. In fact, my dear alma mater, when facing Big Ten in the past, speed has been the difference. And I really thought Washington was going to bring a level of speed that Michigan wasn't ready for. And I knew Michigan would win in the trenches. I knew it would have a solid ground game. I expected their defense to be good in the box. But
Mhm.
what surprised me about that game was how fast Michigan stepped up and played. And it was exactly the opposite of what I was expecting. It was Washington that looked like they couldn't keep up. Now, granted, early on, it looked like it was going to be a slugfest and a trade, touchdown after touchdown back and forth. And then the mistakes started happening and the wheels started falling off, and it felt like by the end of it, and I'm going to say, when I say by the end of it, I mean by the fourth quarter, Penix
Mhm.
started looking lost. And I had flashbacks actually watching that game, Brandon, because you're too young to remember this probably, but when the Frogs were in the Fiesta Bowl against Boise State 15 years ago. Andy Dalton was the TCU quarterback back then, and Chris Peterson put in an entirely new defensive scheme between the end of the regular season and that bowl game. And Dalton came out at the end of it saying, I didn't know what I was looking at. That's what Penix looked like at the end to me. He looked like he didn't know what he was seeing across the line. And yet it was still incredibly entertaining football, right? I mean, everyone stayed till the end, which is more than we can say for a year ago when nobody wanted to stay to see the end of that one. And I was physically in the stadium. I can tell you,
Oh,
I didn't want to stay to the end, but I did.
right.
uh, but um, that's the folly of the 14 playoff. I'm excited to see what brings us in 25 because the 12 team should even out. It's still one game season after one game season, right? But it should even out and allow the cream to really rise to the top. I think in a 12 team format in this year, Georgia would have been a factor
Yeah.
and should have
Yeah.
been a,
Yeah. Yeah.
if Georgia had won their championship game, I don't fault the playoff committee because they did the best with what they had. When you're in a situation where you got to put Bama in and they've lost to Texas, now I've got to put Texas in, and what do I do with Florida State? And we don't know what Florida State would have looked like in the playoffs, right? We don't have a clue. That Georgia game didn't tell us a thing because so many folks weren't there. So I look at the college national championship and I'm excited about the 12 team process because I think it's going to give us the best of the best. And I think we saw a hint of that with 1 and 2, but I still wonder where Georgia would have been in that mix. So,
Right.
yeah, um, we're getting there.
Right.
Last year we had two incredible semifinals and a not so fun final, and this year we had two incredible semifinals and
Mhm.
a pretty fun final till the fourth
Yeah.
quarter anyway.
Mhm.
It's all coming around, but now what happens at Washington? We've got a whole new world because
Yeah.
Washington's going to the Big Ten without their coach. What now?
Right. Yeah, exactly. They are going to the Big Ten next. Yeah, that's true. And they are one of those teams. And so wow. I must say this as Jamar does his tags. You know, number one, shout out to Jamar for pointing out last week about the trenches. Um we all knew that the trenches was going to be very important for this game, and indeed it was, Rick. You could see the physicality and the difference in strength between. So we talk about often the speed not being there for the Big Ten, right?
Right?
But the strength has damn sure been there, right? And it's been there for years and years and years and
Years.
years.
Yeah, no doubt.
So that's one obvious thing that was pointed out very easily within this national championship game was you could see the strength and the difference between Washington and Michigan.
Yep.
And that started with the trenches and it went on from the defensive side of Michigan, literally holding Michael Penix Jr. and putting him under the rest the entire game. I must say, he looked rattled actually to me, Rick, at the beginning of the game. And he caught his groove a little bit as the end of the first quarter, second quarter, he caught his groove. And as that, you can't begin a second half by throwing an interception. You just can't. And that right there
Yeah.
was a
Yeah.
crucial moment for the national championship. That changed the entire complexity of the game because Michigan, just had a short field to work with. Washington went down and scored after that. But
Yep.
just imagine if, it's a 7-point game compared to being a 10-point game, and you go
Yep.
down at the beginning of the second half and score a touchdown or get a field goal. We're talking a whole different outlook of the game, different play calling, different movements, different etc. And
Yeah.
so, yeah, I give high kudos to the University of Michigan for holding Michael Penix Jr. under duress
Yep.
because I thought, as a great quarterback that I've seen him be all year, I thought it was only a matter of time before he would eventually get hot. But that second
Yep.
half turnover and that defense for Michigan, special shout out to those guys.
Yeah.
Speed kills, but sometimes, Rick, strength can kill too. Those
That's what we saw. Well, and I'm sorry, I didn't mean to bump my mic. That's what we saw a year ago, right? I mean, Georgia was stronger. TCU was faster, but it didn't matter, and it didn't matter in a bad way. But yeah, I think the boy, how do we say it? The NFL stylings of college football is starting to come into play. You know, 5 years ago, a player would come out of college ranks and go to the NFL, and they'd be like, I knew I was strong enough, but wow, I'm not fast enough. And, so colleges would build strength, and then the NFL would build speed. And now the college game is getting almost as fast as the NFL at the highest level, right? We can talk all about. And did you see the news this week about the guy that wants to do the it's a bowl of the two worst teams.
Oh, okay. The bowl of the two worst teams. And would it be the bowl of
And
the two
what's
worst teams in
my
college?
brain stopped. I apologize. What's the title they gave Brock Purdy because Mr. something,
Mr.
Mr.
Irrelevant.
Okay, that's it. It's the irrelevant bowl, they wanna call it. And
Okay.
and they wanna take the 2 worst college teams and put them in a bowl game, and I'm thinking, I might watch that game, but, at the elite levels, we're seeing the college games start to be almost, nowhere close to fully, but almost NFL speed and strength, and, it's changing the game.
Yeah.
And name, image, likeness is changing it that way because you can recruit for speed and strength already established.
Yep.
Different
Yeah.
game. Anyway, I've derailed you a
Yeah.
little. I'm sorry.
No, it's totally fine. And so, Jamar, Rick, Jamar, glad you guys can get a chance to meet
Morning.
and
Pleasure to meet you.
you guys a chance to bump shoulders. Also, there's Ann as well. Good morning, Ann.
Good morning,
And
fellas.
Rick,
Morning.
Jamar. Good morning. And so, fellas, we are talking about the 2023 National Championship game. And so, generally, how it works, Rick, is we go with Jamar first, then Ann, and then our guest. And so, what I'll do for this segment is follow up with Jamar, and then after that, we'll follow up with Ann to get their thoughts on the National Championship game. And so, Jamar, what are your thoughts from this Michigan-Washington 2003 National Championship game?
I mean, it went the way that I thought it would go, as far as the trenches, like you kind of briefly mentioned not too long ago. I mean, Michigan has been a very physical team. Michigan is like we were talking about last year, how like Georgia was a bully or whatnot, and they kind of like imposed their will. Michigan was like the same thing this year in totality. I mean, Penix, that first play in the second half, that turnover when you thought that Washington was going to get ready to have the momentum and tie the game, and then that happens, and it kind of just just put them in a funk, put them way behind the 8 ball at that point. And I do give Washington credit for hanging around as long as they did, but when the fourth quarter came and the rails started to come off, it really came off at that point. So I mean, Michigan basically just proved that they, all in all, whatever you want to like allegations and all this stuff early in the season, blah, blah, blah. But at the end of the day, they proved to be the best football team this year. So shout out to Harbaugh for, I guess, finally getting it done for Michigan.
Right. Finally getting it done. Yes, absolutely. And so, morning, Ann. And so, yeah, bro, what are your thoughts from this 2003 national championship game?
Just to piggyback off Jamar. I mean, we've seen it all year, Michigan. I mean, we've seen it for the last couple of years. It's like they've been on the doorstep for what, 3 years now? Been in the college football playoff for 3 years. Won the Big Ten 3 years back to back. Beat my boys 3 years back to back. I mean, they've been dominant. They've been dominant in the trenches. And this year, I think they finally got over the hump. And like I was telling somebody the other day, I just felt like it was, I just felt like it was their year. They went through a lot, with the Harbaugh situation and him being out those games, and they're still overcoming that. And they just finished it off. They beat Almighty Bama, and after that, it was just pretty much they just played their game, dominated the trenches, and now they're national champions, man. They had a good year.
Yeah, absolutely had an absolutely perfect year. I mean, they guys went 15-0.
Yeah.
And it gets no better than that. One thing I want to point out is that I'm very proud to see y'all, Jim finally get that monkey off his back, because that's been on his career the entire time, is getting that national championship. And to see him get it with his brother being there and supporting him, and to just see how Michigan imposed their will, it was pretty cool to see. And so, yes, absolutely. And so congrats to Michigan on that national championship. And so now, fellas, if you guys are ready to progress, we will talk about the Chicago Bulls Ring of Honor. And so this occurred last night, and it was nice to see. And so with that being said, we're going to start with you, Jamar. From there, we'll go with you, Ian, on your thoughts, but then we'll follow up with you, Rick. Jamar, just what are your thoughts on this? We saw the news, and it's international, guys. Sadly enough, this morning, I got friends that text me that support the podcast off YouTube, and they keep up with American sports, etc. But over here, I have ESPN UK, guys. I don't have ESPN.com. I got ESPN.UK. The top headline for UK is the Bulls. And it's the Bulls honor, Chicago Bulls honor, but then fans boo Jerry Krause, Thelma in tears. That's the headline. And so this is an international thing. Everybody's seeing this at this point. And so it's pretty damn embarrassing. And so just Jamar, what are your thoughts from this, man? I had a hard time sleeping last night. Go ahead.
I mean, sadly enough, I'm gonna ask this question, but were you really surprised that was going to happen? Just
I've thought that, yeah, in a way, Jamar, I was surprised on how it happened. I'm surprised though. I was expecting a few idiots to boo, but I was expecting more people in the stadium, more people to have class. And that was the thing that really got me, was it was a number of boos. It was pretty loud, and they even overshadowed the cheers, and that was the problem.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. Like, that had to have been very uneasy for her to a certain degree. I mean, I'm sure she probably expected some boos, but maybe not to that extent type deal, just because, as we know, like growing up watching the Bulls in the 90s, just be this dominant team. And then as we know, it came down to one person that pretty much just like, broke it up for, it seemed like egotistical reasons. Mm-hmm. But, and as you can tell, like the city of Chicago is still bitter by that, still upset that has happened that way, because the Bulls hasn't been back since. They have not been to a final since. They been to one Eastern Conference final since then.
Yep.
Team has been mediocrity at best. So, and then not to mention the main stars wasn't there present. So I mean, it just kind of like you just put it in a pot, stir it up, and that was the result. Like you saw Luke Longley out there living his best life. Kerr, of course, he was the coach of the other team. Phil Jackson, good to see him. Ron, Tony, I mean, the boys. And then, of course, you got some throwback names, Bob Love, Artis Gilmore, and all this. But, I mean, you don't have Mike there. You don't have Scotty. You don't have Dennis. But you have Jerry Krause's wife. So I'm pretty sure all that just went into effect. And that's what happened, unfortunately.
Yeah. And bro, your thoughts, man. Just your thoughts, and to think also that Pippen, Jordan, Dennis not there. Dennis wasn't there. He stated because of inclement weather. Because it was a big snowstorm last night, right? But I just think about like what is Larsa Pippen thinking at this point, bro? Because she in a way plays a role in this. The former wife of Scotty that is dating Michael Jordan's son. Oh, it's just a mess. And so, bro, clear it out. What's your thoughts, bro?
Well, first of all, I do feel a way. Why is Michael Jordan and Scottie Pippen out there? I mean, basically the whole team is there. And Dennis Rodman. You know, Granted, he gave us an excuse or why he wasn't there or whatever the case may have you. But I mean, they had an event Thursday night. They had like a red carpet event Thursday night.
Yeah.
It didn't snow that. It didn't snow that day, so you could have came to that. This is actually a 2-day event, so you should have came to
Right.
that, and you would have been at the game, and you would have been at the game as well. But Mike and Scotty, I mean, I don't. Maybe they had some, family things to do or something, but I doubt it. Because he was at the national championship the other night, Michael
Yep.
Jordan.
Oh, he
Yeah,
was?
so
Yeah.
he was there. He was in a
Yep.
booth with
was-
Derek Jeter,
Stephen A.
Travis
Smith.
Scott,
Oh, so
Stephen
he
A.
was
Smith.
he was in that suite. I did not see him in that suite with Stephen A. Smith and all of them. He was in that
Oh,
suite,
yeah.
huh?
That
Yeah, he
shot
was to the right of
Michigan was up
Stephen A.
there.
Yeah,
Okay.
Because
just a little bit off center.
Because Michigan was
Yeah.
the first. Michigan was the first Jordan school to reach the national championship.
Yeah, that was his incentive for being there.
Yeah. So, but needless to say, I mean that's disappointing. You're the greatest player of all time, and honoring the team that you guys created and built. Hell, even Phil was there, man. Y'all got to show up. I don't care what y'all got going on off the court. Scotty too. That's just unfortunate, and it's not fair to the fans.
Right.
And it's real disappointing that they booed Mrs. Krause last night. Now, granted, I know certain fans feel away, about Mr. Krause, God rest his soul, but I just feel like still in all, like you've seen in their last dance, he constructed that team. And without Jerry Krause, there's no championship. Regardless of him breaking up the team or whatever the case may have you.
Facts.
He put that team together. He put that team together. He put Phil Jackson in charge. He took Doug Collins out of there. We had Doug Collins. We probably don't have 6 championships. Probably have 1. Well, probably have none. And then we probably don't see Michael Jordan as the best player of all time because he got 6 rings and all this other bull. But it was real unfortunate, and that it's kind of embarrassing. Even Stacey King said it. Whoever was at the game last night, whoever booed her, you should feel bad. You should feel embarrassed for yourself. It was uncalled for. You got a booed and just don't say nothing at all.
Right.
You're right.
Obviously he's not here, and I know that was just pretty hard for her, period. Just being there and, this team that he made relevant. He made the Bulls relevant. The Bulls wasn't relevant. He made the Bulls relevant and this big brand. And she's there, to support her husband. Unfortunately he's not here. And, to get booed out, I know that was embarrassing and, that hurt her deep. That's embarrassing, And to make it even worse, it went viral. So, that's not right. Chicago, we got to do better. Between them and the Blackhawks, them the last championships we've seen. We ain't seen one from the Bears in almost 40 years. Well, we got the Cubs too, but man, that man, he brought championships and he brought happiness to this city. Regardless of regardless of whatever he did to break the team up, or however he felt about Phil and those guys. He brought championships to the city. He brought happiness to the city, and most of all, he brought a lot of money to the city. I'm sure he
Mhm.
have. So that was very disappointing.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah, true. Rick, what are your thoughts as well?
I mean, everything that needs to be said has been said.
Mhm.
You know, I could get into the social commentary of we have lost the ability to treat each other with basic dignity, which is what the boos represent. I suspect if I could have been in, yes, and I was embarrassed by how this represents the city of my residence
Mhm.
and the area. Um, but yeah, I think to a person, if we said before the breakup, what did he contribute? You have to answer honestly that he was critical, right? And to boo a person for results because of the things that then followed seems backwards to me. Um, but yeah, we've been doing this in our American society anyway for 20 years now,
Yep.
magnified in the last 8, let's call it. That
Mhm.
we no longer treat people with basic respect and dignity, and people with a lot higher pay grade than the ones in the stands decided who was going in that ring. And even if it's just a sign of respect for the decision makers that made that decision, they could have left him out, but they didn't.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. The name's still going to be on there, and hopefully we can live past this, but yeah, it's an embarrassment.
Yeah. Yeah. Somebody hit up our Instagram page, Rick, and stated that since you are the regional minister of the Disciples of Christ Church, if you could do a prayer for the Bulls organization. That's
Bro.
so,
Oh man.
Oh,
so
maybe not right now.
and so yeah, the Bulls organization, man, definitely needs prayer, man. It's embarrassing, man, and just to see that I'm overseas and to run into people that are telling me, that's your city, like we hear about Chirac, but is Chicago full of bad people like that? Like that's just totally classless, and I had to defend my city to people like, nah, man, it's just a few folks, like it ain't just, the whole city, like, because folks overseas be thinking Chicago is just a gang zone full of O block. And I'm like, no, it's not like that. Like, it's just, maybe one or two, areas. Now, the South Side is rough, but I'm like, it ain't the whole city, is my point. And so,
Yeah.
but folks overseas, they watch YouTube and they watch the videos and they be like, go ahead, Rick, you going to say something?
No, I was just thinking, Brandon, I spend time in O Block. I feel safer there than I feel when I'm in Arlington Heights and Schaumburg
Mm,
because, um, if somebody's got heat with me in O Block, it's going to be overt. Right? But if out in the burbs where all these people that were probably booing came from, it's behind your back and it's
mm,
ugly, and it's in some ways gutless.
mm. That's real.
Um, so you can think the whole city's O Block, but I've had a lot of people treat me with a lot of respect and dignity in O Block.
Mm, mm. Wow. Mm. Yeah.
True.
And so yeah, no, Rick, boy, you preaching. And so yes, that is felt. Jamar and felt that because they ain't even saying that. They're like, yeah, okay. And so
Yeah.
yeah, that's real. And so we hope to see the Bulls organization get better. And fellas, if you guys are ready now at this point, we just gonna talk a lot of football. And so we will start now, Rick, with your Dallas Cowboys. And so, uh-oh, here we go.
Oh man.
Here we go. Yes, here we go. I love it. Yes. And
Here, wait,
so,
let me cover the one so it's just 4.
Uh-oh.
Hey, actually, just for fun for all the viewers, if you're baseball from now on, just buy your jersey this way. It never goes out.
Yeah,
Yeah.
42. Yeah.
Backyard is going to be on your jersey every year. So then you don't have a dated jersey on your hands. Yeah, Dallas Cowboys. Wow. I'd written them off.
And so Rick got a question for you. And so this
Yeah.
question will be for you. And by the way, congrats to those Texas Rangers. And so we are near the start of the NFL playoffs. And the Dallas Cowboys are in as the number 2 seed in the NFC. And so Rick will go with you, and then from there, Jamar in. And so you guys finished 12-5 this season, and again as the number 2 seed in the NFC. And so curious to know, out of Dak Prescott's tenure of the Dallas Cowboys quarterback, do you think that this year's team, along with him now being an NFL veteran, is his best chance as this team's quarterback to win a Super Bowl?
It may be his only chance because the names we don't talk about are more important than the names we do. That superstar offensive line, I think, has 3 free agents and a couple of guys that are starting to talk retirement. And it takes time to build the backups that it takes to make that happen. I don't know how much you guys talk about it. I talk about it all the time. The most frequent position, right? Look, I'm still tagged because I've never worn this before today. Bonus points for anybody that can tell me whose jersey this is. You don't get a prize, you just get bonus points. Offensive lineman, that's the most frequent position in the NFL, right? Every team has 10 of those minimum. And so there's a lot of guys out there that, aren't household names, but are everything to the results. And I think I look at this Cowboys team and those 5 starters that have managed to stay healthy all year, they're getting a little long in the tooth. By the way, that's a horse reference for those of you who don't know about I don't see, when the Cowboys rebuilt 6 years ago, Dak grabbed the headlines, but the real headline should have been the offensive line they built then. And I'm gonna put a curve. I'm gonna throw a curveball on you here and say the team with the number 1 pick, I am hoping and praying, adds offensive line strength with it instead of worrying about a quarterback controversy. So there's a opinion. As I look at our Chicago Bears, I'm like, give me the biggest beast you can find out there for the O-line, because Justin's showing he's getting it. But we need strength, man. We need power up front.
Right.
I think the defensive rebuild this year was really good. But we're talking Cowboys. I don't see Dak having this cast of characters, or any quarterback at Dallas having this cast of characters in the next 5 years. I think it's do or die. And I'll take it a step further in my hot sports take opinions. I think the person who's on the block here is the head coach, not the quarterback.
Okay. All right. Yeah. And so, Jamar, out of Dak Prescott's tenure as the quarterback for the Dallas Cowboys, do you think that this is possibly his best chance to win a Super Bowl?
Absolutely. And I'm gonna start my take piggybacking off of what he just said as far as the head coach. Just imagine McCarthy just at home lose to his former team. Like just let that sink in. Like McCarthy came into this year kind of on a hot seat. You fired Kellen Moore. People thought he would have not even been on the team this year based on the previous year's result. Because last time we saw the Cowboys in the playoffs, then we see Ezekiel Elliott hike the ball off to Dak Prescott. So just little things like that. But I would say this. they have to at least make the NFC Championship game. They have to. They have to get to that hurdle to a point to they haven't made that game since what, the 90s?
95 or something like that. Yeah, 96.
The year they
Sounds
won the
right.
Super Bowl?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
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 So
Yeah.
I mean, they have as good a chance of any to get there this time around. Green Bay is a team that you should beat. I understand Jordan Love is not bad at all, but your team is superior to that team. If we just looking at from the 53-man roster, your team is definitely superior. More than likely, well, I'm gonna say more than likely, but there's a good chance you're gonna play Detroit the next round. I know they're bitter from what happened, and they absolutely should be bitter from that.
Yep.
But nevertheless, I feel like the Cowboys still have a decent chance of winning that game if it comes to that game. But nevertheless, it's NFC Championship or bust at this point, because as we know, unless it's pretty much the 49ers versus the field on that one. But you get to the NFC Championship game, you give yourselves a chance. You never know what may happen, but you cannot lose this game at all. You just can't.
Yeah.
Whatsoever. You cannot lose to the Packers. You can't
bad luck. Really bad luck. Yeah. And bro, your thoughts, man. Is this Dak Prescott's best opportunity to challenge for a Super Bowl?
Now, you guys know I'm not the biggest Cowboys fan, but I think so. With that offensive line, as Rick stated, I mean, they are probably on their last leg. They've had a very good offensive line for a very long time now. Probably like for the last, to be honest, like 10 years. They had a very good offensive line, so it's hard to put a good offensive line together, like you stated, as we see in Chicago. Um, you got CD on the outside. He's really turned into a true number one receiver in this league. He's had a monster year. The only thing that kind of makes me think that the Cowboys might not is their subpar running game. If they can somehow get the running game, together during this playoff run, then we might look up and see the Cowboys in the Super Bowl. But they have a damn good chance, with the defense. The defense is some timing, one game they might play like the 85 Bears, and then the next game they'll give up 40 points.
Yep.
So
Mhm.
they definitely have the team and the talent. I mean, the talent's been there for, like I stated, for a while. But it seemed like they're on the roll. It seemed like they kind of getting it this year. So hopefully they be consistent, kind of work on that run game. If they can get the run game together, however they, make it happen. We could be looking at them in the NFC Championship game. They're in the tournament now. Anything can happen. Win or go home.
Right. Yep. Absolutely. Yeah. This is very true. And yes, got you, Jamar, as well. And so, yeah, the Dallas Cowboys, this looks like to be a very good opportunity for this team. And just imagine, Rick, if they even lose to Detroit, like it would be like, all right, you're gonna let the Detroit Lions come out of nowhere, who had no playoff success like ever for the last number of years. No real success with that franchise, beat you. Like it would be a bad look, and not to mention that you would be at home if that would have happened. And so, yeah. Go ahead.
I think you're jumping the gun. You're assuming that Detroit's not so distracted by the possibility of the revenge game that they don't trip on the Rams.
No,
That's
you're
the
right.
game I'm most excited to watch this weekend. Is the Goff Stafford trade revenge game. Both quarterbacks got swapped and somehow made both teams better. Which still is mind-boggling to me. Everybody's talking about the Goff Bowl, but it's the Stafford Bowl as well. And I think that Rams team is sneaky, and I think Detroit's distracted by the Jamar. I think you said it exactly right. The justified anger at we want to get back to Dallas. Horrid call, but in the grand scheme of things, I can't count the times I've said to people, if you're going to call a whole game ruined on one call, you've missed the game, right? Best way to not have one call kill your game is to play a good game for 4 quarters. I've got Sunday night circled in red on my calendar as the one that is going to be the most exciting. Well, okay, the Frozen Tundra down South Bowl will be interesting because of whether if we can even see it with the streaming instead of traditional broadcast. Um, that
Kansas
being
City.
Kansas City, yeah. But Rams Detroit has been circled on my calendar as the one to watch. I
And
think.
Rick, you are totally right. I am not overlooking that game. Trust me, I believe in that Rams team. I've been talking
I
about them a lot lately. I'm not overlooking it. It's just sometimes I have a habit of repeating what Jamar and state just to reiterate. But
you know
I'm definitely not overlooking that game. I
Ian
think that's going to be a very fun football game.
Ian gave me an epiphany on the Cowboys, which is funny because he doesn't like them much. I got it. I respect that. Uh, it's the defense that doesn't travel well, right? The offense looks pretty much the same on the road games, but you look at those 5 losses and all on the road, it's the defense that has been not traveling well this season.
Yeah.
And I just realized that the defense packs their bags and they pack their brains with them. I guess I don't know, or maybe they don't pack their brains with them. But
Right.
it's
Yeah. And so with that, Rick, let me ask you this question. Why do you, we were talking about ownership, why do you want Jerry Jones gone?
Jerry
And
Jones
this is
fired
very
Tom
interesting.
Landry.
We're going to make this a real because some people are very interested in Jerry Jones and his type of ownership. And I mean, he's done a lot of great things, but why do you want him gone?
Well, for number one, is the way he treated Tom Landry, the only head coach of the Cowboys before Jones' arrival, and the fact that he unceremoniously and in the media fired him on day 1, well, technically day 2 of his ownership, without giving a legendary coach the chance to walk out with dignity. It goes back to what we were talking about with the Ring of Honor, right? And bluntly, I'm called to love everybody, but I really struggle to like that man. He's brash, new money, and he's self-promoting and blah blah blah. And I look at Stephen and the daughter is, what's her name? Mary? No, that's not right. Anyway, and they're that second generation money, and they're calm and they're not brash and they're not looking for the spotlight. And I am looking forward to a dignified ownership instead of a self-promoting ownership. So it's a function of, somebody that I idolized as a head coach as a child wasn't given the simple basic dignity. And I thought, okay, that's how he treats people. And he has proven me right over and over again. I mean, did you watch that Ring of Honor ceremony with Jimmy Johnson a couple of weeks ago?
Yeah.
It was awkward, right? I mean, Jimmy was all but saying, well, at least I'm finally proven right, because they don't like each other. And it just screamed off the screen to me. So, success, yes, inarguable. Good guy, somebody I want to have dinner with, not so much, even if he's paying. Well, especially since he's paying, because I can't afford to have dinner with him if I have to pick up the check. Let's be honest.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. Okay. And so thanks for giving us that. I mean, in regards to Tom Landry, I knew of him being a coach, but I never knew of that detail. And so that's news to my ears, Rick. And in a way, it kind of reminds us of the Chicago Bulls Ring of Honor, where you have ownership kind of doing what they want and not really listening to those who are executing the work. And so, guys, Jamar, any thoughts on what Rick had to say in regards to Jerry Jones? Do you agree? How do you feel about that?
I mean, no, you know how I feel. I mean, I'm not going to take too much time on this. Rick said everything perfectly.
Yeah.
Wipe my hands clean on this one.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Ian, what about yourself?
Uh, I don't. I mean, I kind of feel the same way Rick feel. I've been saying this for maybe if you, I've seen it in my Facebook memories from like 2009. I probably was what 17 or 18. The Cowboys are not going to win the Super Bowl with. I just feel like the Cowboys are not going to win the Super Bowl with Jerry Jones as the owner. I feel like he's too involved with the team, and like Rick stated, he's too self-promoting. I just feel like you don't need that type of owner. You need that type of owner that lets the GM be a GM, lets the coach be a coach. It's almost like I've heard players say this. It's almost like he's kind of looking over everybody's shoulder and they
Yeah.
can't really just be themselves. So I feel like that's a big issue. Now, granted, he's done some great things. They have one of the best facilities in, sports. I actually want to go down there and experience real soon. Um,
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, they had a run in the 90s, which was great for football. But the 90s is over, and football is very different these days. And I just feel like he's not going to stop being. What, he's 70, what, 80 years old now. I mean,
Yep.
he's not going to. I mean, he's already set in his ways.
He's
He
setting
is
his
who he
ways, right?
is. Yeah, he is who he is. So I mean, personally, I just feel like they won't win a Super Bowl with him as the owner. Now, if they do, that'd be great. But I think this is one of their best years to kind of go on a run and get it done. But I've always said that from you know the early 2000s. I just feel like with him as the owner, I don't feel like they're gonna win Super Bowl.
Mm, yeah. Very, very interesting, guys. And so, yes. All right. Well, fellas, let us now progress to current NFL football as well. And we are talking about now playoff pressure. And so, it's in the NFL playoffs. There are big names that have been around for quite some time. Let's start with Dak Prescott and Rick's Dallas Cowboys. Another team might be Cal Shanahan with the 49ers. They've had a lot of success, but they haven't necessarily gotten over that hump. Lamar Jackson with the Baltimore Ravens. He'll get his MVP, but will he get his Super Bowl? And so, just curious, guys, out of these three teams, Cal Shanahan with the Niners, Lamar Jackson with the Ravens, or Dak Prescott with the Dallas Cowboys, which team do you guys think has the most pressure heading into the NFL playoffs? And so, Jamar, I'll start with you. Again, Cal Shanahan with the Niners, Lamar with the Ravens, Dak with the Cowboys. Who has the most pressure?
I think it's Cal and the Niners. I
Okay.
believe. I mean, they've been relevant for so long, but have yet to get over the hump. Niners been in the Super Bowl a few years ago against the Kansas City Chiefs and was up in that game and blew that lead. But nevertheless, it's like, what's your excuse this year? You pretty much proven outside of the Ravens that, well, I would say you're definitely proven in NFC to get it done. You beat the two teams that we thought that probably could have gave them some problems. You beat them easily. And the
Yeah.
Eagles and the Cowboys, you took them out. I mean, in my opinion, there's only one team that probably can give them a run for their money. In my opinion, that's the Rams. But nevertheless, it's like you have Brock Purdy, you have a healthy McCaffrey, and when he comes back, you have Kittle and Debo and Ayuk and a defense that's ferocious. You have it all. At this point, there's no excuse. You just got to get it done. Like what would be the headline be if they was to lose prior to the Super Bowl? Like
Right.
what's
It will be they can't get it done. Pretty much.
pretty much. So yeah, nevertheless, I believe it's the 49ers and Cal Shanahan.
Yeah, yeah. And bro, Cal, Niners, Lamar with the Ravens, Dak with the Cowboys.
And what's the question again? Who has the
Which
most
team?
pressure?
Yeah, who has the most pressure in your opinion to get it done?
I mean, I believe it's the Cowboys. I mean, they've been
Okay.
close. It seemed like they can't get over the divisional and wild card hump, and it seemed like they playing together as a team this year. I think in prior years in prior years they've had the roster for many years. To make the playoffs, go to the Super Bowl. But I think this year, um, granted, sometimes they've been kind of inconsistent at times, but I think this year as a team, I think they have the camaraderie to kind of get them over the hump of trying to get them there. And Dak's had a hell of a year this year. We have to tip your hat to Dak Prescott. He's had a hell of a year. Been in MVP talks. It's between probably him and Lamar. Uh, but I think it's the Dallas Cowboys.
Mm, yeah. Good morning, Tiana. Good morning. And so, in regards to that, right? And like, if the Cowboys don't get it done, then literally next year we're looking at the same narrative, right? We're looking at the same narrative, pretty
Yep.
much, of the Cowboys, and it's gonna be one of these teams because all three of them can't win a Super Bowl. And so, Rick,
Nope.
uh, which team, in your opinion, has the most pressure? Lamar Jackson with the Baltimore Ravens. He's been around for a while. Got one playoff win. Dak Prescott. We know what's been happening with him and the Cowboys, and Kyle Shanahan. That team, all-star team, pretty much. On paper, I've taken care of a lot of teams, but haven't gotten that Super Bowl. And so, which team, in your opinion, has the most pressure entering the playoffs?
I wanna cheat for a moment, but then I will answer the direct question. Andy Reid has the most pressure.
Okay.
Andy Reid is in that fallen from grace, got to get it done, or he's going to end up on a hot seat with one of the winningest franchises in recent history. I think that's
Because
the
of the quarterback
hottest.
he has? Because of the quarterback he has, or
No, I think Patrick has proven to be solid. I think he's just not producing the results he did. He's Chiefs are running a beat up line and not much better on the defensive side of the ball, but that's derailing the conversation. That's not fair. So that's my take. But we got to get to the question you asked, and I think it's related. I think Lamar's under the most pressure, and I think he's under the most pressure because he's carrying the whole AFC on his shoulders. Um, Everyone that loves to talk NFL, it's the Ravens or bust for the AFC, in terms of expectations for the Super Bowl. And forgive me, I don't know the answer to this question. Where is the game slated? Where's Super Bowl being played?
Vegas.
Vegas, that's right.
Ooh.
So it's an AFC town, if you will. But I think he's got a whole conference on his shoulders and an expectation that everyone's let down. If anyone, there's good teams in the AFC playoffs still, right? I mean, you've got the Chiefs, the Bills, I'm not quite ready to put the Texans and Steelers in that mix. The Dolphins, when they're good, are very, very good. And yet everything is on the Ravens, versus you flip it to the NFC, you're talking about 3 or 4 teams that everybody kind of says, yeah, any one of those will represent the conference well. So
Right,
I think Lamar's carrying an extra load, but if you want to really ask me who's got pressure to produce results in this playoffs, it's Andy Reid.
Okay. Wow. Interesting. I can hear my echo too. So, yeah, you make a case, Rick, for the Ravens and Cowboys, Jamar Niners. I love it. You guys all have different takes here. And so the truth is that all of these teams got pressure, and that when one of them lose, the narrative will be the same next year. We just gonna find out who it'll be. And so, all right, Jamar, this is a question for you. Since you have in the middle of the season, you lost faith in the Bills, but now, Jamar, your Buffalo Bills are here. They are the number 2 seed in the AFC, and so this is another question of pressure because we should have maybe included this guy in here too. What level of pressure, however, is there on Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills? And so, Jamar, I'll start with you. And if you want to chime in, Rick, as well, let's just conversate. What level of pressure is there on Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills this postseason or with, just how the season that has went along for them because they were kind of like slumping. Is there truly any pressure, or is there still pressure, Jamar, on the Buffalo Bills and Josh Allen? Is there?
In my opinion, it's the same pressure on the Bills that they had entering the season.
All right.
This is one of those where you do not get credit for doing what you're supposed to be doing. You don't get credit for that. Yeah, just because they had a bad start and they figured it out after they fired their offensive coordinator, like congratulations, you want a cookie now? Yeah, you made it to the playoffs. We expected you to be in the playoffs. We expected you to probably be a 2, 3, or 1 seed entering the season.
Right.
So you just took this, the unconventional path of getting there. Congratulations. Now you're here. You got to get it done. I was completely done with them in the middle of the year when they started losing to New England, and of course, when Josh Allen gets into overtime, that's pretty much a foregone conclusion. They automatically lose the game. But I mean, yeah, they're playing probably the best football that they've played all year at this point. You just got to get it done. Like, you're pretty much the hottest team in the AFC right now. So you have all the momentum. Granted, you don't have Gabe Davis, in tomorrow's game, but you should beat the Pittsburgh Steelers. You're a 10.5-point favorite. You should beat them with no problem. Should go on to the next round. Good chances are you're going to play Patrick Mahomes again. Go in Arrowhead, beat him like you did, I think, earlier this year. And at that point, in my opinion, you're either going to be playing Cleveland or Baltimore at that point. And, you got to get to the Super Bowl. That's it for me. You get to the Super Bowl. There's no conversation without it. I don't want to hear anything else.
Keep in mind, bro, that if things were to go as some are expecting with Kansas City versus Miami, which I think a lot of people probably agree with you. I mean, no disrespect to Tua, but this man lives in he grew up in Hawaii, played quarterback at Alabama, and then plays for the Miami Dolphins. So it'll be very interesting to think that the Miami Dolphins will go in and beat Kansas City at minus 30 degrees tonight. So I see your sentiment there, Jamar. But just an FYI, bro, that if the Bills and Chiefs were to meet again this year, it will not be in Arrowhead. It'll be in Buffalo because the Bills are the number 2 seed.
You're right. I'm so used to Patrick Mahomes having home field advantage. That's
right.
My fault.
I'm
so used to that. I know. You corrected me. But either way, my take, they got to get to the Super Bowl. They just have to. Point blank period.
Yeah. And, bro, you got any thoughts to go along with Jamar? Just in regards to the pressure on Josh Allen, do he finally got to get it done? Is there not any pressure because of him having the slump of the beginning of the season and them, going up towards now where they are? Is there still pressure there? Though is the question.
Yeah, for sure. I agree with everything Jamar said. They've been knocking on the door these last couple of years, and they've been coming up short. Even we talk about 13 seconds. What was that, 2-3 years ago against Patty in Kansas City? So I mean, they've been knocking on the door. Let's see if they get it done. Maybe they could be the Michigan of the NFL. Who knows?
Yeah. And Rick, you got any thoughts for that as well in regards to Josh Allen and the pressure? Is that still pressure?
There is, but I think the pressure may be on Stephon Diggs and James Cook. What I've seen in the Bills is Josh is running the ball more because it feels like he doesn't trust Diggs and Cook to actually catch the ball. I mean, doggone, he's been hitting them in the hands. What's wrong?
Yeah. James Cook can drop that ball. James Cook is so talented, right, fellas?
They're both talented.
Destination Fantasy Podcast, catches the ball. He looks great at times, and at times he'll be right in the end zone, as stated, Rick, like last week, and drop that ball right in the end. It'll be like, come on, James.
I mean, I saw it last week. Allen's tucking the ball and running more, and so there's a relationship issue there. I think that he's reached a point where he's not high pointing Diggs the way he used to. He's not putting Cook into the end zone the way he used to. They don't trust each other. So it's bigger than that. I mean, like I know. That's what I see.
Mhm.
Let's be
Yeah.
fair. They may trust each other a lot. I expect they do, but yeah, it doesn't feel right there.
Mm.
I'd love to see him. I'd love to be wrong. I mean, it's number 2 seed, and they deserve to be playing the Ravens at the end of it. But yeah,
Yeah. 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 And that would be a nice matchup to see. Baltimore, Buffalo. Yes. All right. And so, fellas, let us now progress NFL reactions and overreactions. 2024 Wildcard Weekend edition. And so, what we'll do, Jamal will start with you. From there, we'll go with Ian, and then we'll follow up with you, Rick. And so, let's begin, fellas. And so, Jamar, is it an overreaction to think that after the firing of former offensive coordinator Luke Getsy, that this is a great sign that the Chicago Bears are likely bringing back Justin Fields next season?
I would say that's an overreaction on a technicality. You said the word great. I think it's overreaction with the word great. I think it's probably maybe a decent chance that he is correlated with it. Because at the end of the day, like, we don't know until we know. Because it's still out the realm of possibility that they might trade our guy. And we know how we feel about that. But nevertheless, I mean, I think I'll say this much. I think the Bears are going to act very swiftly on filling this position probably within the next week. And at
Okay.
that point, we might have a good indicator of what to think. But nevertheless, we really don't know until at the earliest March or April. So we'll see.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, and is it an overreaction to think, bro, that after the firing of former offensive coordinator Luke Getsy, that this is a great sign that the Chicago Bears are likely bringing back Justin Fields next season?
Yeah, it's an overreaction. Um, to me right now it's 50-50. You know, they could bring him back, but that should be what Justin's third offensive coordinator, so third offense he had to learn. So I mean that technically won't be good, but I mean the firing was definitely needed. But somebody give them a great deal for Justin, or they feel like they might want to go in a different direction, or whatever offensive coordinator they hire might want to go in a different direction. So I
All
mean,
right.
right now it's kind of up in the air.
That's a really good point. It depends on definitely, like you say, Jamar, and very soon we'll find out. But yeah, they could very well end up hiring an offensive coordinator, Rick, that might have a different philosophy. Be scary, but it's possible. And so, yeah, man, Justin can let go. This city gonna be it's gonna be worse than the Ring of Honor. Anywho,
Yeah, it is.
Rick,
It is. Man, I'm
it's
telling
gonna
you, it
be
is.
lit. It's gonna be lit, man. It's gonna be lit. You gotta check out your social medias if that happens, man, because it's gonna be crazy. And so, yeah, uh, is it an overreaction
I,
to think that after the firing of former offensive coordinator Luke Getsy, that this is a great sign that the Chicago Bears are likely bringing back Justin Fields next season?
you're assuming I trust the front office.
Okay.
That question assumes something that I'm not sure I can get behind.
Right.
You know, I don't post a lot of hot sports takes on my Facebook feed because I'm trying to focus on my ministry, honestly. But um, you know, when Nagy was fired, I said this man just got fired for doing exactly what he told the fans and the front office was going to happen. And then, we bring in Eberflus. I don't even know how he prefers to pronounce that first vowel because I care so much about him, but I feel like he's temporary as well. And I just feel like this is a front office that looks at the um, shiny, dangling ornament of 3 or 4 first round draft picks and a possible, you know, second tier quarterback trade that, yeah, this will be the year that we can really rebuild. And, I mean, is I question whether they're thinking that Fields is worth so much more traded than he is on the field, which is sad because as you've intimated, I haven't been on this cast, so I don't know, but he's a fan favorite. He's getting it. He's figuring out the game. I tipped my hand lots earlier in this podcast, probably an hour ago, when I said that I hope they use that number one pick to strengthen the line because Justin's getting there. The OC changes things, but I just, like I said, I don't trust the front office to not say, try to get away with saying to the fans, we're going to rebuild. It's like you already rebuilt.
Right. You want to do that again?
Yeah.
Right?
So I want to see number one in orange and blue.
All right. Yes. All right. Mm-hmm. All right.
But I don't trust them.
Right. Yeah. Understood. Yep. Definitely understood, Rick. A lot of people, I think, would agree with your sentiment as well. And so, yes, Jamar, let us progress. And so, Jamar, is it an overreaction to think that after the missing the playoffs, after starting 8-3 to begin the season, is it an overreaction to think that head coach Doug Peterson deserves more blame for this team's downfall than the injury to star quarterback Trevor Lawrence?
I struggle with this one a little bit here, but I'm gonna say not an overreaction. I am gonna put a little bit more on Doug Peterson than Trevor Lawrence. Yeah, I get it. Trevor Lawrence got hurt. Derailed the season a little bit, but like to go from 8-3 and to go on a spiral fall, it was a complete opposite of what they did last year at this time. When they went on that winning streak to get into the playoffs, when they upset the Chargers in that infamous playoff game that, as we know, Brandon Staley should have been fired then and there. But anyway, like in a division that we proclaimed the Jacksonville Jaguars was going to win, and for that to happen in games that, like any one of those games, you would have got a win during that free fall, like we would have had a different story. And it was against teams that was winnable. It wasn't like you went against the gauntlet during that time. You end up losing games you shouldn't have lost, regardless how hurt Trevor Lawrence was or, didn't play or things like that. It's like you still have weapons out there. You still have Calvin Ridley, who Ian knows pretty well, that has not been productive at all this year whatsoever.
No, he hasn't.
And just little examples like that. So yeah, I put it a little bit more on the coach than I do Trevor Lawrence injury. I do.
Yeah. And your thoughts, bro?
I kind of do put it on Doug Peterson. I think when you at that position and starting off at what it was 9-2, 9-3, 9-3,
8-3, yeah.
Yeah, 8-3. Yeah, when you start off the season that well and looking like you're just gonna run away with the division. I mean, to lose that many games in a row and not even make the playoffs. I think that it comes down to a combination of things. It comes down to guys being hurt, bad play, and essentially bad coaching. You don't lose that many games and coach the greatest. So I think it's a combination of things. But I think as the leader of the team, the quarterback and the head coach are going to take the blame, and that's just how it goes.
Right. Yep. Yeah. Rick, do you think that it is after starting the season 8-3 is an overreaction to think that head coach Doug Peterson deserved more blame for this team's downfall than an injury to star quarterback Trevor Lawrence?
Peterson definitely deserves more, but general manager and director of player personnel, whose names I don't know, are the ones who really deserve it. This league does not take seriously enough the structuring of the second team. So 49ers as example, they got lucky. Who in the world said, "Oh, Brock Purdy, brilliant choice for your backup quarterback"? Because that's what he was brought in as, right?
Yeah. Yep.
And an injury put him in the spotlight, and he blew everyone's mind. Mr. Irrelevant has been shining, even though he has to borrow money to buy his linemen Christmas gifts because he's working for league minimum. And, you know, he's going to get paid. There's no doubt. But, you know, name a team that has not had a starting quarterback problem, injury, at least a game or two this year. I think maybe Ravens. I think Lamar's started everything.
I think so. I think
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
But in the past years, I mean, for sure, it was Huntley for sure. A lot of years, you know.
Yeah.
We've talked about that on the podcast, but not this year. You're right, not this year. No.
Yeah. So, you know, I mean, you know, is that the head coach's fault, or is it director of player personnel and general manager's fault that we're not building that second tier to be able to step in and fill the gap? You know, Peterson's going to take the hit, but he probably doesn't have the power to make that decision. You know, you can only coach up a toenail so much.
Right. I like that. Yeah.
Give him a whole toe, right?
Right.
You got something.
Yeah. And so, yeah, thanks for that, Rick. That's a very, you know, it's deep, but I understand. And so, yes, good morning, Dwayne. Dak started every game too. And so, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yep. And so, all right. And so we'll progress now and speak on our next NFL reaction and overreaction. Next, gentlemen, is it an overreaction to think, Jamar, that after suffering a grade 2 MCL sprain, that the Pittsburgh Steelers star all-pro defensive end TJ Watt's presence will truly be missed against Buffalo this upcoming weekend, leading to a one-and-done playoff exit for this football team?
Yeah, that's 100% not an overreaction. They need that, man. Like, TJ Watt is arguably the best defensive player in football. You can definitely put him in that argument. And he makes that defense go around. He makes that team go around. As you know, and as a lot of us know, like, if you have that edge rusher, if you have that person on the defensive line that can create havoc and cause problems, it just makes your whole defense better. What ultimately makes your whole offense better as well. So without that, it's like, I mean, Steelers once again playing behind the 8 ball, going into a hostile environment. So good luck with that. So yeah, they need that, man.
Yeah. And bro, your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I think you're Cancun on this one with Jamar. I think Jamar hit it right on the head. I mean, yeah. I mean, I think we all need they need JJ. I mean, not JJ Watt, but TJ Watt badly.
Right. And that without
offense,
him, it's likely a one and done.
Yeah, with that subpar offense, I mean, definitely.
Yeah. You agree as well, Rick?
Absolutely.
Yep.
No reason to say anymore. Yep.
All right. Yes. All right. Let's progress, fellas. Is it an overreaction to think that upon the injuries to one of their starting safeties, as well as an irritated thumb to quarterback Jalen Hurts, as well as knee issues with starting receiver A.J. Brown, that with these injuries, as well as the recent tumultuous play from this Philadelphia Eagles football team, that this football team can still pull off a wild card weekend win against the NFC South Tampa Bay Buccaneers?
Boy. Brandon, I'm pretty sure I said a couple weeks ago that this team season should be canceled. This team, my gosh, it's an overreaction, man. I don't have any faith in them winning against Tampa. I don't. You lost against Arizona. You should have lost to the Giants the first time. You definitely got beat down by the Giants this last game. When you still had something to play for, you got A.J. Brown out here deleting all his Eagles posts off his Instagram and stuff, not showing up to practice. It's a whole fiasco right now, man. Like, I'm supposed to believe in this team, and I know we had, they're on last week. Like, I still believe in Jalen Hurts, but it's beyond Jalen Hurts at this point. It's like there's no structure. It looks like we were talking about the Steelers a few weeks ago when the wide receivers just did whatever they wanted. It just like, I have no faith in them at all. So no, like, overreaction.
Wow, the other Pennsylvania team. So, and yes, bro, Is it an overreaction to think that upon the injuries to one of their starting safeties, as well as the irritated thumb, the quarterback Jalen Hurts, as well as the knee issue with starting receiver A.J. Brown, that with these injuries, as well as the recent tumultuous play from this Philadelphia Eagles football team, that this football team can still pull off a wild card win against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers football team?
I think they can do it. They got the talent. They just got to lock in and get focused, come together as a team. I know it's been rough, these last couple months, but as far as injuries and the camaraderie, but I feel like if they can lock in and focus on the task at hand, I feel like they can get it done. I mean, we talking about the NFC champs from last year. I think they can get it done.
Okay. Yeah. Rick, your thoughts?
Well, as my most hated team, it's hard to do this without a lot of bias. But I've thought all season it's the Bucks that are the pretenders. They've showed out at the end of the season, and that's great. But I don't know. I mean, it's going to be an interesting game on Monday because
both of them have opposites, and so
right.
Tampa has right, fellas. Tampa has won what 6 of their last 7, Jamar, or 5?
Yeah, they only got hot at the end.
Right, it hasn't been pretty, but they've been winning. Whereas Philly has been, it's just been a downward spiral.
Well, I don't even trust that Philly can do a 1-yard brotherly shove anymore. That was the signature, right? Nobody could do it like Philly, and now I'm not even sure they can do that. I don't know. I think there's problems in the locker room. There's problems in the relationships. It goes beyond injuries. But I think they may. I think Ian nailed it. Right? There's enough talent there that it may be a one-off, and they knock Tampa. Unfortunately, whoever wins that game, that's their last win of the season.
Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah. See that. Mm-hmm. Yep. Thank you for that, Rick. Yes. And Tiana stated, Steelers shouldn't even be in the playoffs. They overachieve. They are definitely a one and done. And so, yes, we are with you, and we agree. And so, yes, let us now progress, fellas. Is it an overreaction to think, fellas, and we are on the Buccaneers still, that Tampa Bay Buccaneers head coach Todd Bowles' job is still on the line this weekend, depending upon his results against a hobbling into wildcard weekend Philadelphia Eagles football team? Is his job still on the line, Jamar?
No, I don't believe so. I mean, look what he's done with Baker Mayfield. Like, just think of Baker Mayfield had the best season of his career, and they ended up in the playoffs. Like, I know we get the NFC South has been like the NFC least a few years ago, but nevertheless, I mean, you got a winning record. You made it to the playoffs with Baker Mayfield. I mean, he succeeded Tom Brady. Like that's tough to come in there when you felt like the team just unraveled and you still continue to win the division and you relevant to host a playoff game. I mean, that says something within itself in that division where I feel like head coaches should be fired left and right. So no, I feel like he's fine.
Okay. Yeah. And is it an overreaction to think that Tampa Bay Buccaneers head coach Todd Bowles' job is still on the line this weekend, depending upon his results against the hobbling into wildcard weekend Philadelphia Eagle football team?
No, I think he's fine, like Jamar stated. Made the playoffs with Baker Mayfield, and still got a lot of that team from the Super Bowl team. Still a lot of those guys on that team. You might have a few guys that's not there, like Tom retired, but they still have a lot of those guys there. Baker just came in and just pretty much played complimentary football and kind of just managed and got the ball to his playmakers. So, no, I don't think he should be fine.
Okay. Yeah. Rick,
here,
is it an
let me save you
overreaction?
some time. Yes, it's an overreaction.
All right.
No reason to repeat that whole thing again. The front office of the Bucks are still sitting around going, "We're in the playoffs? Really?" He's fine.
Yeah. All right. Thank you for that, Rick. And so, yes, lastly, fellas, Is it an overreaction to think that upon this upcoming NFL Revenge Wildcard Weekend, that either Mike McCarthy versus his former team, the Green Bay Packers, Jared Goff versus old football team of the LA Rams, or Tyreek Hill versus his former team of the Kansas City Chiefs, that one of these gentlemen will do something a little extra post-game if their teams pull off a wild card weekend victory against their former football teams. So, Jamar, what are your thoughts?
I'm gonna say this is not an overreaction because I guarantee if the Miami Dolphins was to win, I feel like I will see Tyreek Hill do something just because of how that situation ended, like that or just something else, or the peace sign to the crowd, like something, because there's no way like Tyreek Hill should be a Miami Dolphin. There's no way. They fumbled that badly.
When that happened, it was just shocking. It was like, what? Like, it was shocking when it happened. And so, yes, Ian, bro, is it an overreaction to think that upon this upcoming NFL wildcard revenge weekend, that either Mike McCarthy versus his team, Jared Goff versus the LA Rams, or Tyreek Hill versus his former team of the Kansas City Chiefs, that one of these gentlemen will do something a little extra if their team pulls off a wild card weekend victory against their former teams?
I think we all know it'd be Tyreek Hill to do something extra if they win. I mean, to go back home, to go back to Kansas City, beat those guys in a negative 32-degree game, and they're from, most of the guys on the team probably from the South or the West. It'll be Tyreek Hill if they win.
Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Rick, your thoughts?
It is an overreaction, and it's an overreaction because it will be Matthew Stafford. I've already called this one. Matthew Stafford will go into Detroit, pull off the win because Detroit is distracted, not because the Rams are necessarily a better team that's close, but Stafford will do something with that crowd. So, yes, it's an overreaction because you picked the wrong player.
Hey, you got you on a technicality, man.
Yep, you said Goff. It's not Goff. It's Stafford.
Okay. Yes. And good morning, R. Keith Shannon. Stated Chiefs don't need Tyreek, still won a bowl without him. And so,
They're looking like they need him now.
They do need him now.
I mean,
they still got a bowl without him, though.
It's true. They did. They did, and it was very impressive. But like, does that short-term results really matter in the grand scheme of things? Because look at them now.
Chiefs desperately need receivers. And
they badly need
Tyreek would have made a difference.
Yep.
Right.
Chiefs are what, 11-6?
They went 11-6 this year. Yeah. And,
I think with Tyreek, it's 11.
I mean, if that was the Bears or somebody, that would be a fantastic. Oh, that would be a fantastic season. But
I think with Tyreek, that's 14-3.
Right.
Yeah, they're the 1 seed again.
Yeah.
Right, they're the 1 seed again. Right. And so I see your point, Jamar, that you have the short-term success, but if you had Tyreek, you got a dynasty probably going into 2030 still. Like you have longevity here because Tyreek's a cheater out there. And so all right. World NFL reactions and overreactions. And so now, fellas, it is time to make our NFL wildcard weekend picks. And so we'll start with you, Jamar. We'll follow up with you, Ian, and then you, Rick, and I'll make my pick lastly. Keith Shannon, if you're here, go ahead and make a pick with us as well. We got wildcard weekend coming up. And so the Cleveland Browns versus the Houston Texans, 3:30 p.m. Central Standard Time, guys, today in Houston. Jamar, who you got for this one?
Pull it up real quick if you can.
Yeah. Let me actually share that. Can you see that?
And now we can.
It's coming. There it
right
is.
Here on the right-hand side of the screen.
All right. So this here's this game right here. I'm going with the dog pound. I feel like, defense travels. I feel like CJ Stroud had an excellent year. Excellent year. Like, I give that man all the flowers he deserved this year. But I'm gonna go with my famous phrase, great season, but like this is coming to an end. Joe Flacco, my gosh, he looked like he's trying to play his way into Canton for real. Um, I mean, that team has not lost a beat. Matter of fact, I feel like the team has gotten better with Joe Flacco. That defense is rejuvenated, and that defense is still a top defense in this league. So defense travels, Browns win.
All right. By the way, guys, Tiana got the Texans. Ian, Cleveland Browns versus Houston Texans. Break the tie. Right now, Tiana got the Texans. Jamar got the Browns. Who you got?
I got the Texans. I got H-Town going with my boy CJ.
What a fantastic story that'd be. By the way, y'all, Ian is a big Ohio State fan, and so it'll be great to see. It's already great to see an Ohio State quarterback exceed Ohio State NFL quarterback expectations, but it's even better to be able to see him as a rookie go out and do what he's done this year. I stated last week, and I thought he would have some jitters. Man, he shut me up on the first play of the game. He shut me up.
75-yard touchdown.
Game, Rick. Boom. Right out the gate. Right out the gate. That kid did not have a jitter at all. He had that team on their heels the entire game. And Indianapolis played a good, fundamental, disciplined football game. They messed up, however, on 2 plays. That one bomb and then that pass where the running back dropped the ball at the end of the game, which he could have had a first down and more. But Houston got it done, and that kid, he lit up the joint. And so, with that being said, Rick, who do you got for this one? The Cleveland Browns and a great story, Joe Flacco, but then a great story, this rookie quarterback, CJ Stroud at Houston. Who continues on?
Flacco throws one too many picks. Texans win it.
All right. Yes. Yeah, guys, I'm going to go with this is a hard game. I'm going to go with Cleveland. I think Cleveland's built overall, just something about these defenses lately, man. And I just think that Miles is going to be all over that kid. He'll get the ball out fast, but which he does very, very well. I noticed with CJ, he gets the ball out really fast. So it's really hard to defend him because he gets the ball out so fast. That's going to be a game, y'all. But I got Cleveland. Jamar, Miami versus Kansas City. Do Miami go into the frozen tundra tonight, bro, and pull off what would be a very, very memorable Miami win if they would have? This will be an upset, actually. Who you got for this one?
So initially, when the matchup was made, I was picking Miami, but noticing the temperature and -3-degree weather and all this stuff, I'm taking Kansas City because my thing is I don't think anybody on that Dolphins team really wants to tackle Isaiah Pacheco in that cold. I don't think so.
Yeah,
I'm taking Kansas City.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Ian.
Not gonna lie to you. I love Patrick Mahomes. I think he's the best quarterback in the league, but I'm going Miami. For
what?
The upset. Nobody
What?
got Miami going in there and beating them. I got Miami for the upset.
Oh, Ian, bro, you making headlines, bro. If this happened, we got to put you out there on the reels for this week. You got Miami.
Yeah, I got Miami.
All
Miami
right.
for the upset.
That's gonna be news. That's gonna be news. Rick, who you got for this one?
Bad temps, howling winds, kicking game means nothing. Passing game is only slightly better than nothing. The team that can run the ball the best wins, and that's the Chiefs.
Yeah, I have no reason to pick the Dolphins. Yeah, so Tiana got Kansas City as well. And so, Ian, you are the lone bird on here, but man, if you pull that off, Miami going to there, that's going to be a very impressive win. Especially being how they finished the season. On the other hand, Jamar, Pittsburgh, Deshaun Steelers, they going to Buffalo. Who you got for this one?
Cancun on 3, fellas.
Yeah, I don't have Pittsburgh. We should have did a Cancun. Well, no, if we would have did a Cancun, I was ready to say Cancun in for Miami, but you picked Miami.
No,
But Rick, do you have Pittsburgh going into
No.
Buffalo?
No.
Okay.
no.
Yeah, Tiana as well. So yeah, and Jamar already knew what I was thinking. Yeah, so Buffalo, yeah. But hey, if Buffalo go out and pull out this win, this would be a great win for Mike Tomlin's legacy, wouldn't it? Like this would be like something you can add to his already fantastic resume. Going into Buffalo in these below cold temperatures. Not that Pittsburgh not used to that, they are, but just with the team they got and with being without TJ Watt, it would just make it very special. But speaking of upsets and potentials, Green Bay versus Dallas. Woo! Jamar, who you got for this one?
I kid you not. Rick, your Cowboys better not lose this game.
They better not.
I kid you
Everybody's
not.
looking for a job if they lose this game.
Man, I'm taking the Cowboys on good faith that they are going to handle business. And also, what incentive I wear on this hat, I need that team to lose. So go Cowboys.
Right. Yeah. Ian.
I got the Cowboys. They should get it done.
Okay. And Rick, you got the Cowboys, right?
I got the Cowboys.
Yeah. Tiana, who you got? She don't trust the Cowboys. And guess what, Tiana? I'm with you. I don't trust the Cowboys. I think this kid, Jordan Love, come out, and people are really sleep on this kid. I think the Packers going to Dallas. And I think Monday morning, Stephen A. Smith come in super happy. And I think this narrative comes in and it continues about the Cowboys. I will say this at least, Jamar and Ian. Fellas, if this game is close in the fourth, Dallas going to be getting sweaty palms. Very, very, very sweaty palms. Jamar, like you state, Dallas, if they were to take care of business, hopefully in that business is taken care of by the fourth quarter, because if it's not, and this game is around and the Packers are lingering around, it could turn out to be something very, very interesting. And so I think Green Bay gets it done because of Aaron Jones and the fact that he is running hard. And I don't know if Dallas can run the ball like effectively. And so it's going to be a contrasting style here. That's going to be I think that's a very good game right there. Very good game of contrasting styles. I got the Packers. The Rams versus the Lions. Another one.
I can't
Jamar,
wait for this
who you
one.
got for this one, bro?
Oh, I can't wait for this one. Oof. At the end of the day, I'm picking the team that when that running back came back, they look a whole brand new offense, and that's Kyron Williams and the Los Angeles Rams. I'm taking the Rams in upset.
Okay. Yeah. Ian.
I got the LA Rams.
LA Rams.
Oh, you ain't taking your grit?
Nah, I think the grit comes to an end.
Rick, who you got?
Brandon, if you don't know my pick, you haven't been listening for the last hour and a half.
So
already got it done.
All right, and so you Rick, you got the Lions.
I got the Rams.
Oh,
I got
that's
the
right,
Rams.
Okay.
Stafford's gonna make the comment.
And Tiana has the Lions, and actually I got love for the Lions at home. I think because the Lions are at home, I think the Lions get it done. And so Tiana has the Lions as well. And so, yes, 2 for the Lions, 3 for the Rams. Lastly, guys, Monday night, Philly at Tampa. Yeah, it appears to be that Tampa has, but Tampa, their offense, they can't score the damn ball. Jamar, who you got for this one?
Look, I'm okay within myself to make this pick, and I'm okay if I'm pretty much the lone wolf on this, but I'm taking the Bucks.
Okay. Yeah. Ian, who you got?
Philly in a blowout.
Mm. Rick.
Philly, but tight.
Yeah, I got Philly, but tight as well. I think Philly. They should win the game.
Yeah.
But
They
we'll
should
see
have
how.
won the last 4 or 5 games. I ain't sure.
Yeah, they should have.
Right, including the Giants, right? And so, I mean, even including the Cardinals. But I guess you could say that kind of ran all over them. But yeah, Philly, Tampa. It's 4 for Philly, 1 for Tampa. Jamar, you the lone wolf on this one. And so we'll see how things turn out with this Philly and Tampa game. If Philly lose, it's gonna be a lot of rumblings around Philly, a lot of rumblings around just everybody talking about Philly and what they need to do to just make this team better. Could it be a blow up? Who knows? Bill Belichick is out there still, and it's rumored that he's looking to coach again. And so Jamar always state addition by subtraction. And so we're gonna see what happened with that game. That's gonna be Monday night. And so with that being said, we are now at our final segment, which is called Ian's Basement. And so, Ian, I don't know, bro, but do you got something for us this morning for what is called your segment, Ian's Basement, bro? You got anything for us?
Yeah, I absolutely do. With this week, it's been a fascinating week in the football world. You got the departure of, Bill Belichick from the Patriots, and then, got the one of the greatest college football head coaches of all time, Nick Saban, retiring and leaving Alabama. So my question to you guys is, who is the greatest coach, Patriot, besides Tom Brady? And who is the best Alabama player to come out of Alabama during the Nick Saban era?
Okay. And so, who is the greatest coach out of the Bill Belichick coaching tree?
No. Who's the greatest player to come out of Patriots besides
Okay.
Tom Brady?
Okay, and the same for Alabama, right?
Yeah, the same for Alabama during the Nick Saban era. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, because it's easily Tom Brady for the Patriots, right? And he's done
Yeah,
so
that's what I
much
took.
for them.
Yeah, that's what I took
Right.
you out of the equation.
And then when you think of the Patriots, I would just say honestly, and I was just watching his highlights. I know he only played there a few seasons, but I can't really sit there. Maybe we can argue Ty Law because of his career. Maybe we can argue Harrison, Jamar. Maybe we can argue some of those
Yeah,
defensive guys. But I got Randy. That one season. That one season was so
yeah, the
memorable.
record setting season. Yeah,
Yeah, man, and the catches he was making, and don't he even got a touchdown in that Super Bowl. It was just the defense that let him down at the end. But for me, yeah, I would say the greatest player in the Patriots history. I would make a case for Randy Moss. Yeah,
it's a good pick.
yep. Jamar, who you got, bro?
I'm still
Mm.
thinking. That's tough.
It's tough, ain't it? Brick, who you got?
It is tough. When you can't decide, go for the joke, right? Doug Flutie. We'll never know if Jimmy Garoppolo is what I thought he was when he left the Patriots. But man, there's a lot of talent that just didn't get talked about because of Brady. I don't know. You got
Because
me on
really
that
the
one,
only
Ian.
Pro Bowler really outside of Randy is what? Ty Law, Jamar, and Rodney. But Rodney's not in yet.
No,
Willie is not in yet. Willie McGinnis is not in yet. Richard Seymour is not in yet.
Are you talking
So
about Hall of Famers? Yeah.
Hall of
yeah.
Fame.
They were playing with a lot of like no name guys. It's a really excellent question, man. That's why it's so hard, I think.
Was Brisky a Patriot? I can't remember.
Yep.
Yeah.
Teddy, Teddy.
Yeah, that was on my mind for a second. Ooh. You know what? I'm gonna go Gronk.
Okay, that's a strong one. That's a strong one.
Formidable. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll go Gronk for that one. Then you said about Alabama, right?
Yeah,
During the Nick Saban era.
yeah. It was a great
That's
player
tough
come out of
too.
yeah.
That's a
So
really tough one, and really, and man,
Ian,
we got so many.
Ian came in with his
Um,
bag today.
I wasn't expecting both of them to leave this week.
None of us did, man.
and it's 0-1 this morning.
especially Nick Saban, especially that.
So
I'll
Right.
say Bill Belichick, but not Nick Saban.
all right,
It
so
was
with this,
crazy. Then Pete Carroll, low key, he was a great coach too, man. Let's not forget what he done at
Yeah,
Seattle and
yeah,
USC.
facts. So with this Nick Saban question, is it what they did at Alabama or what they did?
yeah. What they did
Okay.
at Alabama, yeah.
Okay, because all right. So I'm going to say,
Got 3 Heisman winners, I think.
yeah, I'm gonna
Right.
say Mark Ingram.
Okay.
Yeah, I was thinking Mark from at Alabama, but in our state, in regards to his tenure of players, man, what keeps coming to mind for me is Julio, but like a tie between him and Derek. But
Yeah,
what about these?
I
Yeah.
think I was gonna go for Bama. I think, in my personal opinion, I'll say it's a lot of players at Bama, but I would say Derrick Henry,
I was thinking that too. It was
and then honestly, I probably would say Devontae Smith.
Mm.
I
Devontae
mean,
over
that was a tough one.
Julio?
yeah, I mean he
Devontae got a Heisman.
Devontae got the Heisman. He got multiple national championships. He
Okay, you're
actually
talking
won a
about at
national
Alabama.
championship.
At
Yeah,
Alabama.
Yeah.
Not,
That's key.
yeah,
Yeah.
at Alabama.
Not after.
yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Mhm.
I think I got Devontae and Derrick Henry. And man, for Bill, I think I'm gonna go Gronk, and then I'll go with one of the older players. Like I'll go with Willie McGinnis. You know, he kind of him
Yeah,
and
he was.
Tyler, all those guys kind of
Yeah.
started the picture away.
Mhm, mhm, mhm.
Besides Brady, I can't pick Brady. So besides Brady.
Right. Yeah. Rick, you get you.
You picked two of the franchises. I realize you're not supposed to use that for college, but forgive me. That I hated the most, and therefore try to ignore the most.
Oh, I'm not a Bama fan either.
You know,
I'm not a
I
Bama fan either.
I've cheered against Alabama for so long and tried to ignore their games that but undeniable, a lot of greatness came out of that
Yeah.
that system. And you know, when you've got 150 people watching film and everybody else has 5, you're going to find the best. It's just a given. Yeah, I don't know, man. Alabama. Can I go with Steve Sarkisian as an assistant coach?
Man, he
Yeah,
was great.
I
He
mean,
was great. He was great at Bama. That was during the
he's great at
Devontae
Bama too. Yeah,
Farmer
that's what I'm
Smith days.
saying.
Yeah.
You know, let me turn the table a little bit. Yeah, I don't know. I just don't know. I'm
Yeah,
just going to
it's a
cop
lot.
out
It's a
on this
lot.
one and say I don't like either team. I don't pay attention to their players. I don't know.
I'm not a
Yeah.
Bama fan either, so I can respect it.
Tough question. Well played.
Yeah, very well played. And so, and that was a great question, man. Appreciate that from Ian's basement. Yeah, you know, world, it's a lot of great players that came out of that Bama program under Nick Saban. And I mean, we know about the Patriots as well. And so, yeah, that leads us now to transition into our final thoughts and shout outs. And so we'll start with our guests. We'll start with you, Rick, and from there we'll go with Jamar, and then we'll give Ian the final word. And so, yeah, Rick, as we head into the weekend, any final thoughts or shout outs?
Critical question. Did anybody get the bonus points for figuring out whose jersey this is? Whose name's on the back?
Can I get 2 tries?
Yeah.
So my first try would be Andy Dalton. The second try would be Brad Johnson.
You got it in one. It's Andy.
Oh, okay.
I was gonna.
Yeah, that number 14.
Yeah.
Good for
That
you.
is
Good for you.
Andy's number.
Yep. Final thoughts. How many days till baseball season?
I mean, to be
3
technically
months.
honest, not that
We're
long.
more than halfway from the end of the World Series to spring training. I know that.
Yeah.
This is the season that I go to sleep as a sports fan until baseball starts back up again. I kind of loosely look at scores for basketball and hockey, and
Yeah.
the USFX. YZFL, whatever they are this week, is not a thing. So, I'm going to hibernate and see you in April.
Right. Yeah. All right. And so that's your final thoughts and shout outs. All right. So
That's
thank
all I
you,
got.
Rick. All right, sir.
Oh,
And so
one more thing that
yeah.
came up. One more thing. Not just for the Bear or Bulls fans, but for our society. Pray for respect and civility.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, absolutely. I feel that. Yes. You guys listening, Bulls fans? All right. And so, Jamar, any final thoughts or shout outs, bro, as we head into the weekend?
Yeah. First and foremost, thank you, Rick, for joining us today. Definitely was a pleasure. Definitely, with the Cowboys and the Texans roots there, like definitely got a perspective on that one. We appreciate you and definitely come back.
It's fun.
So I would say kind of alluded to it, I guess, with Ian's question, but just all the changing of the guard with these coaches that we have known pretty much for like a lifetime here. Bill Belichick no longer there, Nick Saban no longer there, Pete Carroll no longer there. I mean, all Hall of Fame, first ballot Hall of Fame coaches. I mean, Pete Carroll's the last one since I believe Jimmy Johnson to win in the NCAA and in the NFL. So definitely tip your hats to those guys, man, one way or another. Even though Reggie Bush tweeted that Nick Saban, the NIL pretty much ran Nick Saban away.
I believe so. There is some
That's a
truth
really
to
good
that.
point.
I
Because
think
he
it's
did
There's
not
valid.
some
like
truth to
that.
that. It's some truth to that. That's a conversation for another day. But that is some truth to
Right,
that.
man, because he
That's some
indeed was
truth.
very vocal about the NIL.
Yep.
Sure, he has for the last couple of years. He has big time.
He's been very vocal about the NIL.
Yeah. So yeah, definitely changing the guard there. So, appreciate them, but as we know, the show must go on, fellas.
Yep.
Right. Yeah. Yep. You're right, Jamar. Yeah. And any final thoughts or shout outs, bro, as we head into the weekend?
Shout out to Rick for coming on with us. Great conversation. Got to make sure you come back with us, man. More than welcome. Yeah, salute to Nick Saban, Bill Belichick, for those great runs, to those great teams. Yeah, I might not be the biggest fan, but
It's greatness.
yeah, it's
Right.
greatness. You just
It's
got to
greatness.
respect it. So
Yeah.
many championships, so many great players, so many great assistant coaches. Well, for Alabama, I don't know about the Patriots, but um, and excited to see what Gerard Mayo does in New England. For him,
Yes.
with him taking
Robert
over.
Kraft and Gerard Mayo. Okay, Kraft Mayo.
Yes, I'm
That's awesome.
excited. I'm excited to see what he does over there. How he kind of runs the program over there. And you know what? Before I go, shout out. I don't think we even got to this point. Shout out to all the Bulls legends that got they got how can I say it? They got recognition last
Inducted
night.
into the inducted
The,
into the Ring of Honor.
the Ring of Honor. Yeah. Shout out to all those guys. Even the guys that didn't show up, unfortunately. Shout out to those guys, man. It was a great time. Man, it was a great time in those '90s, man, to be alive and to see those guys win. We might have been kids, but it was a great time, man. And shout out to Mrs. Kraus, and shout out to her husband, for putting that team together.
Right. Yep. Yeah, absolutely. Rick, thank you, sir. Thank you for joining us this morning on the Early Morning Sports Talk podcast. And thank you for bringing those jerseys. We loved how you flipped from that Texas Rangers to the Dallas Cowboys and that conversation came about. We appreciate that. Now you flip into the TCU Horned Frogs. And then on top of that, you brought the Kraft Mayo out for us. We need people like that on the podcast. And so we appreciate you, Rick, definitely very, very much. And so,
Absolutely.
world, we thank you all for tuning in with us this morning on the Early Morning Sports Talk podcast. We truly, truly appreciate your support. Please continue to chop it up with us and support our podcast on various platforms. And if you are and would love to talk sports with us on the Early Morning Sports Talk podcast, we are here and would love to do so with you. Your love and support is truly appreciated, and we hope you all have a blessed and safe weekend. Peace.